Nothing moved, nothing spoke, nothing breathed. Only Kukulkan alone, the creator, the architect, and the composer. A hurricane swelling at the heart of the world, churning the wind into the air and the waves of the water into a divine tapestry. Even gods desire connection and feel loneliness and in his isolation. Kukulkan caresses the world with the first word, earth. Mountains ascend from the sea and the trees bring color to the world. Our work is going well, says Kukulkan, and he ushers the beasts of the land into life. Each animal finds his place in jungle and the dwelling harmony.
Connection. A relationship in which a person, thing, or idea is linked or associated with something else. When we address the idea of connection and think about how that word relates to our lives, we begin to think of our relationships. Relationships with family, friends, beliefs, and ideas, our connection to the world. My conviction lied within this belief until I was forced to examine it when we took a journey deep within the heart of the Mayan culture. For 8 days, I trekked into the depths of their rainforests, caves, and ruins. I had the privilege of hearing their stories, their ancestry, all that they were and all that they are now. Their connection to their heritage was something that you could feel deep down in your bones, not just hear it through your ears. You could feel the strength of their souls, forged by the rugged hammer of their extensive history of triumph and failure. When I was sitting on the top of the tallest Mayan temple at Tikal in Guatemala, I caught a rare glimpse of calming peace. As I looked out over the expanse of the jungle canopy, an indigenous Maya, who happened to be sitting up there with me, coincidentally began to play a traditional Mayan flute. As the gentle song floated through the breeze and made its way over to me, I closed my eyes. I obeyed my intuition and felt my body float back into time. Faster and faster it went until it stopped upon the image of me standing at the top of that same temple. With my arms raised to the heavens, I looked down and saw an entire civilization hundreds of feet below me. I could feel the blood pulsing through my veins as my eyes combed through the sea of people, the blood of a Maya. I then opened my eyes with the realization of what the Mayans knew standing at the top of that towering temple almost 2,000 years ago, that everything is one. In that moment I realized that separation is merely an illusion. Maybe our human programming is different, but our spirits are the same, forged by the same tool, woven and stitched together out of the same fabric. The trees, oceans, deserts, animals, and all other things on this earth, no different. I then came to the conclusion that connection equals oneness, with everything that has been, is, and will be. This is the wisdom that the Maya not only shared with myself, but the world, and for that, I'm truly grateful.
My name is George William Mesh. I live in a little village that named San Antonio. I was 7 years old, so especially my dad, he went deep with me, teaching me about medicine plants. So, but you know how kids go. When my dad started teaching me the plants, like I just kind of laughing, like I thought my dad is just cheating me or. But one day my dad told me, Willie, I'm sorry, I'm serious, So I want you to learn because in the future, maybe you will be using those kind of, knowledge that I have because one day I will get old and you take over. So it's a little boy who don't believe about plants. Suddenly one morning, the little boy get to an end of a jungle. And he say, oh man, well today I going deeper in the middle of the jungle and see what's going on in the jungle. So the little boy start walking in the middle of the jungle. Meanwhile, he is walking in the middle of the jungle. The little boy start hear a little noise, just like somebody knocking some little things like. The little boy say, oh man, I want to know what's going there. And he keep walking. But he's surprised. Suddenly in the middle of the jungle, he saw a little open area. And he said, what's going on here? And he keep walking and he's surprised when he reached there, what he saw is a little Maya hut built in the middle of the jungle. He saw a little old man sitting down right to the front door chopping some roots of plants. And he asked, "Good morning, grandfather." And the old man watching little guy say, "What are you doing here, my son?" The story say, little boy told the old man, "My grandfather, I'm just killing some little birds. But I hear the noise, so I decided to come here." "And you, what are you doing while you are chopping the roots of those plants?" The old man told little boy, "You know, my son, this root is a medicine plant. I am a bush doctor, so I come to the jungle to collect all the medicine plants and go to the village to cure the people." And the little boy, he just start laughing and laughing and laughing. And I say, "Sorry, my grandfather, I don't believe those things." So the little old man, he feel kind of a little bit sad. He say, "Oh man, I have to do something to convince the little boy." In the first day, the little old man wake up early in the morning, get his crocus sack, get his machete, start walking the jungle with the little boy. So the first plant that he saw, he grabbed the first plant and he told little boy, "You know, man, my son, this is a good medicine. This cure this kind of sickness, this cure of kind of sickness." And he collect that plant and he put it in his crocus sack. And he keep walking and he find another different kind of plant. Pick it up and he start teaching the little boy. But the story says that he teach the little boy for 3 months every day. When the 3 months done, the little old man told the little boy, "All right, my son, today I'm not going to the jungle. I want you alone. Get the jungle and you bring me a plant that is not a medicine." When he saw the first plant, he was about to grab the plant and he stand there, he say, "Oh man, this is a good medicine." And he keep walking and he find a different kind of plant. He was going to grab the other plant, he say, "Oh man, this is a good medicine." And the story said the little boy walked whole day to go and find a plant that is not a medicine. And he start crying and crying and crying. The old man told him, "My son, what you are crying?" So the little boy said, "Grandfather, I'm really, really sorry. Now, yes, I believe all the plants are medicines."
Through men, Kukulkan chiseled the heritage of the Maya. Carved from the stone, we leave our immaculate legacy.
The item that I would leave behind for people to find 1,000 years from now would be the seed of a tree, somewhere where it would be able to grow and become a large tree and have more seeds, and hopefully it would make a forest over time, and in the future, 1,000 years from now, someone could have the knowledge that there was one person that planted just one tree to start that whole forest.
Kukulkan composed the symphony that is the forest, the trees our serenity, and the plants our panacea.
I have always lived my life with a connection to nature. I have always enjoyed being outside, climbing trees, or swimming in the lake. Living in a big city makes it difficult to grow plants and experiment with plant medicine. This past year, I began to travel and learn more about organic gardening and how plants can be used as medicine. I began to rely much more on natural foods and medicines for my health and illness. On my recent trip to Belize, I had a terrible rash on my face. I did not know how it got there and was not sure how to get rid of it. I decided instead of taking the allergy cream I was offered, I would try to make my own rash medicine. I searched around for something familiar I could use, checking inside and outside, in flower pots and on the grounds. Eventually, I found 2 plants that I recognized, the tea tree and aloe vera. I knew that aloe vera was good for your skin, and I knew that the leaf from the tea tree had healing capabilities and could be used to absorb the aloe juice. I diced the aloe into little pieces and boiled it in a pot. Then I added the tea leaves to soak and boil with that water. Once I felt it was enough, I took the leaves out and froze them. Next, I put the frozen leaves on my face, and the next day my rash was almost gone. For me, natural plant medicines have proven to be a great alternative to prescription drugs and over-the-counter medications. I hope one day people can realize the power of the natural world for themselves, and modern medicine and traditional medicine can find an even balance in our society.
Kukulkan is the creator, the evocative heart of humanity. We are his tools, who carve the art of life.
Clearly, the Yucatan Maya were not only a people of a brilliantly intellectual mind, but an artistic and creative one as well. Ancient Mayan crafts were among some of the most lavish of its kind. Remarkable stonemasonry, renowned woodwork, and matchless pottering all define the Mayan craft. From gazing upon ancient Maya design to holding the modern art of their culture, one can truly feel the creative mind which innately runs through their people.
If I had to leave something behind for people to find 1,000 years from now, it would be a poem that I wrote. The message behind it is it's all about strength and having to deal with strength in everyday life, whether it be questions you may ask, whether it be with school, maybe it's stress, maybe even who you will marry in the future, or how you will finish this job or please that person or this person. What I'm trying to leave behind is just for people to be able to stay present in the moment and deal with all the little things and don't stress about the things that are going to be in the future.
I have been working for over 30 years as an archaeologist. I started in 1976. The research that I conducted, I think, has a lot of relevance for our world today. And in fact, I think it also reflects, some of the lessons that we as modern humans, I think, should learn. What the research that I did in that site indicated to us that sometime around the 10th century AD, so 900 and after, the Maya started to be affected by, I think we now know that they were being affected by changing climatic conditions, particularly drought conditions. And the Maya responded to this drought, their inability to plant their corn and to plant enough food to sustain themselves, that they turned to ritual. They started to pray more, they started to conduct more ceremonies. And they were doing this especially inside of caves. And as things went on and did not improve, they also then started to up the ante. In other words, they started to sacrifice humans to try to please the gods and to petition the gods to come and make rain. Eventually, however, that doesn't work. And then they start to abandon this area and move out of most of what is modern Belize. The Maya faced similar situations in the past, and they failed to address those situations, and it cost them dearly. Let's hope we don't do the same thing again.
If I were to leave behind an object for people 1,000 years from now to find, it would be a flash drive with the music I wrote on it. The music on the flash drive would represent me. I think that my legacy is the most important thing that I can give to people, so the music on the flash drive would just be a little part of me for other people to know about.
Humans who demolish nature for their own need end up destroying themselves and everything around them. I think that this is a very fundamental lesson to be learned, because doing everything for yourself and being self-centered makes all the things that you have and took for granted go away. The intriguing nature and monumental structures that I witnessed in Belize were surreal, making me feel a sense of calmness and at a place of peace. The resplendent temples left me speechless. Seeing the symmetrical structures that tower over 200 feet tall amazed me. The nature was astonishing, so lush and so full of life. Why do we have to build over these breathtaking pieces of land that we cannot and will not ever be able to reproduce? I think that a lot of people never fully appreciate something in its presence until it ceases to exist. Another lesson that can be learned is the lesson of being greedy about money. Today, people who only revolve their lives around money are lonely and miss out on the opportunity to live their lives to the fullest of their ability. They don't care what they have to do to get it, whether it is stealing, cheating the system, or even going to the drastic extent of obliterating a whole community. This ends up leaving the person abandoned. Status of wealth does not determine one's happiness. For me, personally, it is family, love, and relationships that are the simplest yet most effective ways for achieving happiness. In the end, it is us humans who destroy ourselves. Whether it be digging up the rich, lively land to build upon, we solely dig ourselves. Perhaps it may even be burning down forests, which in the end, we exclusively burn ourselves. All of these acts that seem so benign to some people expunge what is inherent in our lives, Mother Nature.
If I could leave one item behind for people from 1,000 years from now to find, it would probably be blueprints. They would think that 1,000 years ago there were still inventors, and there are still people being innovative. I imagine the technology 1,000 years from now would be a lot more advanced, and I would like to think that these blueprints could have inspired some of it, and hoping people would think that I was a really smart dude.
Upon the sacred shell of turtle, gracefully moving through the sea, that is the universe. All is water, and water is life.
The ocean sprawled around us as we sped insignificantly through its beauty. Tiny islands flew by as I tried to imagine what the alternate universe that is the ocean could possibly look like before I dropped myself into the water. On the surface, the ocean looks the same as it did 100 feet back, but underwater, it's a whole different world. I put on my mask and my flippers and tried my best to gracefully enter the water. At first, it's scary dropping into a universe so different than your own, thrashing around in the water as I tried to regulate my breathing. When I finally figured it out, the only sound I could make was a muffled wow. Drinking in the turquoise beauty of reality underwater while the fish gracefully swam past me, feeling gravity relinquish its grasp on me as I realized that I was floating. We truly were in an alternate universe. Throughout my time on land, marine life has always fascinated me, but the closest I ever got was on dinner plates or in fish tanks. But I was up close and personal with the coolest marine life I had ever seen. Schools of fish protecting one another from predators, hordes of sharks wrestling for food handed to them by the visitors, and stingrays floating gracefully through the water like the birds of the sea. We got to swim in the coral reefs, the equivalent of walking down their streets. We were visitors, getting a taste of what it's like to live in the beautiful Caribbean Ocean. You can watch a fish swim in a tank for hours, but it's nothing like swimming with a fish in his own waters.
The thing I would leave behind for people to find 1,000 years from now would probably be a vinyl record. I think that the album would represent a sense of change in modern day society and culture. For people in 1,000 years from now, they could look back and just really think about how music progressed as mankind progressed.
The Maya live a daily life shaped by tradition. Trees grow over their ancient cities, but the villages preserve a way of life that cannot crumble as easily as temple plaster. The grinding of corn, the making of maize tortillas, and the usage of plant medicine. These are patterns of life that have been woven continuously over millennia into the tapestry of history. In the face of Willie, a Maya groundskeeper at Deploys, I discerned something alien to me, an aura of contentment, of joy, of not wanting to do anything else other than what he was doing. He walked us through a vast garden, named for us every tree, and let us snack freely. I can't tell you what all those fruits and leaves were called, but they were invariably tasty. Well, except for one that made me gag, but hey, apparently that one helps prevent cancer. Willie was so comfortable with his surroundings. More than that, he identified them as an essential part of his world. This happiness, this connection, inspired a rare admiration in me. I admire the Maya for their resilience. In the ruins, new altars have been built for ancient Mayan rituals. On the solstices and equinoxes, Maya will celebrate as their ancestors did. And all this after centuries of displacement, forced assimilation, and even genocide. They came back to the beginning. The Maya might seem to be a people living amongst the ruins of a greater time, with no hope of steering their own destiny as they had in the past. But let's not forget that the West was built on the ruins of Greece and Rome. The story of the Maya is far from over, and the industry and strength of the Maya I saw has made me sure that a new chapter is beginning.
His hand has guided us through the eons. We are not lost. We continue to live upon the temples and amongst the forest. Our connections carved in stone.